Oh man, I just got out of work. So, what I call work, 8 hours of service. Here's the little pups. Here's the little ones. Emma and Buddy. Princess Emma and little Buddy. These are my little pups, my friends, and my family. They're really cool. It's nice to have pets. Like, after not being able to have a pet, like, I grew up with animals, so I was really an animal dude from very early age on. I was always bringing animals home, different ones, different kinds, wild, domestic. Sparky too. Good to see you, brother. I'm just getting in from work, so I didn't really have time to even wash. I'm like 4:25, and I'm like, oh, okay. I've got this live going, so yeah, it's all good. How you doing? How you guys doing over there? You all right? Everything cool? I'm just kind of hanging out here for now. Waiting for my wife to get home. But everything's good, man. It's just, I was listening to Chad. I think was it last night or the night before? I think it was the night before. But yeah, he was having he was really, I think you do go through some things. I think that any human being who has been confined, I don't want to overdo it, but any human being who has been confined for any length of time, like, I'm going to say 3 months, 6 months, is a fairly significant amount of time. And anybody that's been confined or caged for that long, I think that, depending on that person, the individual, but I think there's some damage. I think something comes along with 18 years or 33 years or 50 years or 10 years. I think there's an effect that kind of lingers. There has to be, right? Because you've taken that person out of time. You've taken them out of society. So society for them, for me, it stopped running. Time stopped running. Societal time stopped running the minute I was arrested and thrown into jail. And it started running again when I was released. But the problem is there was 30-something years in between. So, yeah, it's like Rip Van Winkle waking up, going on a hunting trip up in the woods, and then sitting down and falling asleep and waking up. Hey, Dom, how's it going, man? Good to hear from you. Sparky 2's here somewhere. Yeah, that's what it's like. It's just going on a hunting trip up in the woods, falling asleep, waking up. It's like 30 years later. And, stuff that you haven't really had a chance to acclimate to, the differences, the changes. You might think it's minor, but even minor changes have an effect sometimes. But the reality is that I think all people struggle. I think human life is difficult for most. I think it's difficult for everyone, really. And I think some are just better at hiding it than others. But yeah, man, thank you. I'm just I'm just talking, just like letting some thoughts fly through the air. Uh, but yeah, it's anybody that spends any time in a cage is going to be affected somehow. So they have a thing now they call post-prison traumatic syndrome, and it's or something like that. I don't even know if I have it right, but they have a new kind of a mental, I don't know if it's a mental illness, but it's a condition anyway. And yeah, I mean, because look, the reality is, yeah, you get conditioned to the cage, right? Everything's routine, meals at a certain time. You know exactly what the rules are, mostly. I mean, it's kind of more simplistic, I guess, more easy to follow the rules. They're more clear anyway. You don't have all of these responsibilities that come with being in society and trying to be a good and decent human being. So, but I think it's deeper than that. I don't think it's anything to do. I don't think institutionalization, they've always known about that. And they've always known how difficult it is to reverse institutionalization. And I've been talking about this for years and years. This isn't my first rodeo. Years and years I've been talking about institutionalization and how it affects a person. So yeah, you're gonna have some issues to deal with. But again, human life, it's not easy for anyone. You analyze things, right? You say, okay, what's the potential cost versus the potential benefit? Am I really going to benefit enough to justify the cost? And, that has a lot to do with a lot of different things. Depends on really how you look at the world, how you value things, it may come down to how you value your own freedom. And, sometimes that notion gets a little bit clouded, right? I think once you've been subjected to what I'll call the cage, I think once you've been there for 3-6 months minimum, and you've become over that time somewhat conditioned to life in the cage. It's kind of like forcing a square peg into a round hole. I mean, you can do it. You can force it in there. You put enough pressure on it, it'll go. It'll make that peg round. It'll break off the corners. It'll make it round. Okay, so now you forced a square peg into a round hole. Now what? Can you put those corners back on? Probably can, but you got to use some glue, and it's just, is it really worth it? Is it worth it? I think if people really knew the dangers, if people just understood the dangers of being imprisoned, undergoing captivity, being kept in a cage, I think if people simply understood the dangers to themselves, let alone family members and loved ones, and the fact that you may just be responsible for doing something shitty to someone. Leave all that to the side. What about what it does to you? The potential, the possibilities, and not just potential and possibilities, but what now is being known to be validated, and it's evidence based now. They're trying to get this new condition to be accepted as part of the diagnostic and statistical manual of psychological conditions. So they're recognizing now that that the cage has consequences. The cage has consequences, and it's a little bit unfortunate. What's up, brother? I understood exactly what you were saying, bro. Exactly. I mean, I did. I was right there with you, man. It's true. The cage has consequences. It can mess with your head, and it can happen even years after you're out. I think you just got to take it slow. I think you just got to, because we get ramped up, and it's just like you said, you start getting off course. Yeah. I mean, when you're getting off course, because things start going a little bit wonky, right? They start going a little haywire. You start having these feelings, these difficulties. So, you just got to be disciplined enough. You certainly have the discipline to. Thank you, brother. Thank you, Chad. Appreciate that, man. You certainly have, as a boxer, and going through all the training and the physical exercise, and I mean, just the kind of man you are able, you are capable. It's in you to, to notice when you start to wobble a little bit. And that's what I was saying. Your honesty, the way that you're so honest, just so boom, straight across. And you've always been like that, man. You've always been like, boom. It's one of the main features of your personality, is just how objective you can be, even about yourself, especially about yourself. But I think when you say that to yourself, when you look at yourself privately, you have to make those decisions. You have to say, okay, I'm gonna have to bone up here a little bit. I'm gonna have to, tighten up over here. I'm gonna have to quit doing that, and I'm gonna have to start doing this, and you just recalibrate a little bit. And I think, honestly, you have to kind of stay on top of it. I think you have to do it every day, just kind of, hey now, what's up, Peter? Yeah, I think we just have to recalibrate, all the time, and just be evaluating ourselves and saying, okay, but again, it comes to this stress, this pressure point of being in that box too. We build our own prisons. We create our own prisons, man. That's what we do. We create our own prisons. And, then we look for a way out. I mean, if we could notice during the construction process that we're building a prison for ourselves, we might just stop building it, right? We might interrupt that project, but it is difficult. It's difficult being human, difficult paying the bills, having responsibilities of a family, of just society itself. And when you mix in the fact that you're probably somewhat institutionalized in one way or another, when you mix in the fact that you probably do have post-prison traumatic disorder, whatever they're calling it. You have to put up a fight. You have to put up a battle. You have to be prepared to do whatever it takes to at least stay out of the cage. And I always say this. I mean, three things. Don't hurt anyone, don't take anything that ain't yours, and don't deal with drugs or in drugs. If you don't do those three things, you're likely not going to end up in a cage. But again, that's only one cage, right? That's only a physical cage. The psychological cages are another thing altogether. I mean, this is a whole different. Physical cage is one thing. Psychological cage or prison is quite another. And in one way or another, I think that most people, most human beings, if we were able to feel another person's feelings and know their thoughts just for a split second, I think we'd understand that we're all pretty similar. We're all pretty much on the same general track. We don't think or even act that much differently from one another. There's variations, there's extremes, but those are the exceptions, right? So this is a little buddy. Little buddy wants to say hello. Look, he's got his hand up, waving. Look. Would you wave at him? Look, buddy. Look right there. Look. Right there. Yeah, buddy's cool. Buddy's cool. Yeah, Van City, you gotta have like this little guy. This is the runt from a litter of runts. The guy was breeding, he was taking the runts from each litter and breeding them and trying to make them smaller and smaller, like runts. So this one was the smallest one in a litter of runts. And he only weighed 2 pounds when he came to us just a few weeks ago, really. I think he's up to about almost 4 now. He's almost double. But yeah, he's very, very, I think he's got an anxiety thing. He's very anxious and very, but just kind of needy. You can see he's just really mellow and cool and just yeah, Manhattan City. Yeah, it's like that, man. You get attached. You get attached emotionally. You get attached. We get attached to things, right? As human beings, how can you help it? You get attached to things. You get attached to people, places, and things, events, traditions. We get attached to all kinds of things. But I guess one of the best things that I learned through my practices and my experience, particularly with city yoga and meditation, probably one of the primary things that I learned is that we can reach a state, or at least a frame of mind, where we can still enjoy and demonstrate empathy and compassion, and at the same time, we don't have to necessarily be attached in a way that causes us a lot of stress or emotional anxiety should that relationship or whatever it is change. And all things are in a constant state of change, so we better be prepared. Better just be prepared. We don't want it, right? We're comfortable. We say, hey, I got a nice little puppy right here. He poops in the morning. Sometimes he hits a mat. Most of the times he doesn't. I know when he does it, it's about 5:30, 5:30, because he'll start barking right away. Yeah, Sparky too, for sure, man, for sure. Yeah, that's a nice brood right there, man. You got a pack and a brood going. No shit. But yeah, it's all good. I mean, things do change. We change. Circumstances change. Events change. We want to hold them. We want to keep them. We want to be able to control them ultimately, right? But, I mean, look, there's not really, if you measured all the control in the world, our control is, our personal control is kind of weak, right? Not much we can really control. So if we can just get a little bit of insight, enough into our own hearts and minds to know, to learn how to use our minds. Emotion is part of the mental processes, right? It's part of it, it's part of the human being, the human personality. It's part of us. But to learn emotional intelligence, to learn about our emotions and how we can regulate them in a way that results in benefits for us rather than consequences. Because a lot of people, this is what I'm talking about, equanimity. A lot of people they get pissed, they get depressed, they fall into despair. All of a sudden, they're doing stuff, right? They're doing things because they're driven by that emotion, that push, right? You get in your feelings, and the best thing to do when you get in your feelings, you got to do a couple of things. You got to notice, number one, I'm in my feelings right now. Number two, you just got to kind of wait it out. Just don't do anything. Don't say anything. Don't do anything of any consequence. Just let it pass. Let it go. Let it go. It'll go away. That emotion will go away, even if it's very strong. Just let it pass. Let it pass. And, eventually you will, train yourself to look at your emotions, to notice them, and to be able to, hey, Paul, man, it's been a little bit, Yeah, you got to let them run. You got to let them out a little bit. Got to let them run a little bit. But this one, Princess Emma is a little rough with him. So, we will take them out for a walk, and she's bigger than he is. She weighs like about 7.5 pounds. He weighs about 4. So she'll get running, and she'll just run right over him purposely. She'll run right into him, run right over him, like a football player trying to tackle somebody. So recently, Buddy has gotten smart. He will actually go up against the side of a building when we're out taking our walk. We call them mental walks. We go out and take mental walks. But he will go up real close to the building and walk along the building so she can't shoot in on him like that, Oh, yeah. No, I found a dog once that was chained to a tree, not to a tree, to a pole in a parking lot. And it was hot, too. And it was a Labrador Retriever, black, big paws, big webs, big, full lab. Beautiful lab, too. And it was tied there, left there. abandoned. It was like its tongue was hanging out. It was, ribs showing. It was just left there. Nobody was like, this was back in the 70s. So people just, they different head back then, right? Different mindset. But I went ahead and took them with me. And, you know, well, I used to go in the Big M and I would lift steaks for my dog. This lab was the most well-fed dog in the world, I'll bet you. Eating way better than I was. So, yeah, I mean, that was a cool dog. But, and that dog would follow me anywhere. And I took him home, had him for like a year maybe, and then one day he tried to follow me. I went off on my bicycle, went up Route 5, and that was the end of him. So, yeah, life is a series of gains and losses. You think that you've gained or gotten ahead somehow, it makes you feel good. If you think you lost, if you think you've went behind, then it makes you feel bad somehow, in some way. But I don't think that's what it's about. I know that's not what it's about. Not really. Winning or losing, gaining or losing, it's not about that. It's not about that. Not if you want to live peace of mind. Peace of mind trumps everything. If you can achieve some form of peace, true peace of mind, that is independent of anything, everything. If you can achieve that state of mind just to feel at peace with yourself and with the world around you, I don't think you can do any better. I really don't. I don't think there's a way to do any better as a human being than to achieve that kind of peace of mind. That's where the wealth is. That's where the richness is. That's where the joy is. Yeah, the dollar, there's that old prison saying, when you have money, everything's funny. When you're broke, it ain't no joke. There's no doubt about it that money runs things. It's I would rather have money than not have it if given the choice. If somebody came up to me and said, "Hey, do you want this $5 million or not?" I'd probably say yeah. I would say yeah. No probably about it. I would say yeah, of course. I'll take it. I would rather have it than not have it. But when money becomes the central theme, when it's no longer personal growth and development as a decent human being, then, and the word decent you could put in or leave out, right? It's the same thing. Personal growth and development. If you're growing, if you're developing a new perspective, if you're gaining a better understanding, all comes down to understanding. If you understand, you're on top of the world. You're on top of the world, not underneath it. If you understand, if you develop understanding, it's not going to come overnight. You just got to put the work in. And the work is simple. The work really is simple. Excuse me. Dirt from that fence job. We're getting ready to pour tomorrow, so I'm gonna take a video and put it up. after we're complete with it. I'll let you guys see what we did over there. We hire, like, we get day workers and, people to do the labor part. Not all the labor. I mean, I'm doing a bunch of it. It does. Makes life easier, but there's so much more. Yeah, so much more. Just get in touch with the earth. Get in touch with your own deepest feelings and thoughts. Who are you? Who are you? Just ask yourself, who am I? And then go into it. Go deep into it and figure yourself out. It's not easy. I'm not there. I haven't figured myself out yet. Whoever really does. It's always just that challenge, right? That makes you, hey, Joe, good to hear from you. Good to hear from you, man. It's always just that challenge of pushing on. Keep learning. Learning is growing. Simple as that. Keep learning. And what's the number one subject you should learn about? You. Yourself. Learn about your own heart and mind. You can't do any better than that. That's the best education you can ever have, really. It's learning about or being educated about yourself. And I think to some degree that's what life is. It's just some kind of a education process. Hopefully, it's just an education process, because I know there's a lot of people that are, getting poor marks, but yeah, we can't be responsible for anyone other than ourselves, right? So with that, my brothers, my friends, I'm going to cruise because I've got to get back, and I will see you again next week. Same bat time, same bat channel, if you want. Everything's great, Joey. It's good. I mean, yeah, it's great. It's great. I love being free. Constantly reminding myself, you lose things, but you also gain things. So, I don't feel like I'm a victim of any kind. But I'll talk to you guys later. Thanks for watching.